Hi, I'm Lillian. Welcome back to my channel Ink and Pages. In this video I'm going to be showing you all of the books I've got in spring and summer. There's actually not too many of them, so this isn't going to be a very long video. But if you see one that you recognise as a favourite and you think I should move to the top of my TBR immediately, please do let me know in the comments. So the first book I have to show you is Disfigured on Fairy Tales, Disability and Making Space by Amanda Leduc. This is actually the only non-fiction book in this haul, but as the title would suggest, this looks at disfigurement and disability, specifically in the context of fairy tales, like all the Disney stories we grew up with. The author also writes a bit about her own life and her experiences growing up because she has cerebral palsy, and what it's like seeing pretty much all the disabled characters in fairy tales being mistreated and being the villains and never ever getting a happily ever after. I started reading this for the Disability Readathon in April, but to be honest I haven't finished it yet. I've kind of put it on hold. It was a bit too academic for me at the time, I guess because it is non-fiction. I just wasn't in the mood for non-fiction then. But I did find it really interesting, and I'm definitely going to come back to it and hopefully finish it before the end of this year. Next we have Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Mariko Tamaki and Rosemary Valero O'Connell, which is this absolutely beautiful graphic novel about a girl called Freddie and her sort of on-again, off-again girlfriend, Laura Dean, who is a bit of a dick, let's be honest. And this book takes a look at toxic relationships and how this can impact our lives and our relationships with other people as well. But even though this book does touch on some darker, deeper topics, I'd say overall it's quite an easy read, and I would really recommend it. I talk a bit more about it in my summer wrap-up. Next we have The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo, which is absolutely tiny. When I bought this book, I knew it was short, but I don't think I was really visualizing like what 100 pages look like because it's so much smaller than even I expected. But I've heard really amazing things about this book, so I'm very excited to read it. I believe it is about the character of the Empress, but also mainly her handmaiden, and beyond that, I don't really know. I don't know if they have a relationship. I think they might, based on what I've heard. I'm also kind of convinced it's got like slight fantastical or magical elements to it, but again, I don't really know. And I also believe that this story is kind of being recounted after the fact to another character who I think is some sort of like cleric or scribe and is writing down this story. But pretty much everyone who I've heard talk about this on BookTube has like gushed about it and said it was absolutely amazing. So even though I don't know entirely what I'm getting into, I'm pretty sure I'm going to enjoy it. Next we have The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. This is actually the book I have just finished reading, and I can tell you it was very good. This story is all about parallel Earths. Basically there are like 380 something parallel Earths that people from Earth 0 are able to travel to. But the catch is you're actually only able to go to a parallel Earth if the version of you in that world, like your doppelganger, has died. And our main character Kara is very unusual because she's able to travel to, I think, more worlds than anyone else because nearly all of her doppelgangers have already died. And so the book starts with Kara learning that one more of her doppelgangers has died, meaning she's able to travel to the specific version of Earth for the first time. But then things aren't exactly what they seem, and it goes from there. And it's this really fun sci-fi adventure. I really like the idea of parallel worlds and looking at what our lives could have been if like one small thing or maybe one big thing was slightly different. And so I really enjoyed this book. Next we have the 5 books I got for my birthday a little while ago, starting off with The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I actually already read this book. I read an ebook of it like 2 years ago, I think, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was really good. So I've been wanting a physical copy for ages. This is an adult romance about 2 colleagues who sort of hate each other and are really irritated by each other. Our 2 main characters are Lucy and Joshua. Yeah, and Lucy's sort of this kind of very friendly, likes cupcakes and frogs, I think is like the vibe, and then Joshua is very like serious and professional, and obviously like they start off clashing and hating each other's guts, and then eventually they learn there's more to each other than there seems and fall in love. And it was really fun. It has very similar vibes to the Netflix film, I think, Set It Up. I think that's what it's called. Like honestly, if you've seen that film and you loved it, I think you'd really enjoy this book, and vice versa. And I know they are actually already making, or maybe they finished making, a film adaptation of The Hating Game, so I'm also really excited to watch that. Next, I got a physical copy of my favourite book of the year so far, which is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, and I also got the sequel, Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I loved Six of Crows. It is, yeah, my favourite book I've read so far this year, and I'm very, very pleased to finally have a physical copy of it. And I think I'm actually going to reread it this month and then read Crooked Kingdom immediately afterwards. In case you don't know, these books are set in the same world as the Grisha series, which is like the Shadow and Bone books. And it's about 6 characters in the city of Ketterdam, and they do a heist in the first book at least. And I'm assuming in the second book, they do another heist, and I'm very, very excited to read about that one. Next we have Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, which is absolutely beautiful. I mean, just look at this cover. The moment I read this book and I can take it off my TBR shelf and put it with the rest of my books, I'm going to be displaying it outwards like this because this cover is just absolutely amazing. This is actually the first book by a native or indigenous author I've ever added to my shelves, I'm pretty sure, which is embarrassing. It's about time for that to happen. And I've heard really amazing things about this. This is, I think, a YA mystery where our main character's, I think, cousin gets killed and she somehow gets drawn into the investigation behind it. But yeah, lots of people whose opinions on books I really trust and tend to have similar opinions to have said this is amazing. I've been trying to think about where I'm going to slot it into my reading. Realistically, I think I'm probably not going to get to it till November, but that is, I think, when the Indigathon readathon is happening, so I mean, this would be perfect. And finally, we have Trouble the Saints by Alea Dawn Johnson. I'll be completely honest with you, I don't really know what this book is about. I bought it sort of on faith alone, which is very unusual for me, but I read this author's short story in the anthology A Phoenix First Must Burn last year, and it was one of my favourites from that whole collection, so I knew I wanted to buy her book when it came out. This is set in Harlem in the 1940s, and it says on the dust jacket it is a magical love story, but I don't know if that means it's actually going to have like magical elements in it. That would be cool, but if not, I'm willing to just go in sort of blind and see where it takes me. So that's it, only 9 books in this book haul. I just haven't been buying or asking for that many new books this year, I think. I've been more focused on whittling down my already in existence TBR, even though I have already read a couple of these new books as well. But let me know if you would recommend any specific book I've mentioned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!